cut off her head? That would be slight compared to what your beauty would remove from her. She planned to murder you. You murder her much worse, with perfect grace. Not tossed like hers into the jaws of hollow lust. Preserved by moderation, haloed in the glare of perfect, famous, virgin truth.
This play was written in 1800, but the spin on it is amazingly contemporary. I mean, the play looks kind of like a really poetic, really gritty, really smashing version of an Elizabethan West Wing, and so it's very exciting. There's a lot going on. The stakes are enormously high. The characters are very rich, and it feels like corporate power as much as it does historical drama.
There are many secret followers of Roman idolatry still in this island. They're all hostile to you. They all belong to the Stuart. They are in contact with the Jesuits in Lorraine, who are committed to your total annihilation by means of subversion.
Elizabeth, Queen of England, is on the throne and sitting quite uncomfortably there because she's quite worried about her rival and her cousin, Mary Stuart, who is Queen of Scotland and who is also of royal birth, her cousin, and has potentially a claim to the throne, especially considering Elizabeth had been declared illegitimate at one point by Henry when he decided to get rid of Anne Boleyn and chopped off her head and declared his daughter illegitimate. So Elizabeth sits in the shadow of fear that Mary might be a hub and an agent for a Catholic uprising and a takeover from France and of the entire kingdom.
I have to admit, I really am at a loss to explain how this stateless Queen of the North, who couldn't hold on to her own throne, who's the laughingstock of her own subjects, who spit her name, is suddenly a major national threat.
Mary, in turn, has had a lot of troubles of her own. She's had a turbulent past life. She was around when her husband was murdered. She possibly conspired in that. Then she married the murderer. She had a very lurid past. There was an uprising in Scotland, and that sent Mary packing. She should have gone to France, where she would have been home, safe and sound. But instead, she decided to cross the border to England and to try and have a meeting with her cousin Elizabeth, a queen-to-queen meeting, thinking that these were the only two people in the kingdom, in the world, really, who could talk to each other on equal footing. Elizabeth, however, was extremely wary of Mary stepping across her borders and had her locked up. And her counselors continued to advise her to have her executed. She was too dangerous. She was a lightning rod for revolution.
We must protect your reputation.
Yes, sir, I will. And if you should wake me in the morning with the news that Mary Stuart died in the night,
depend on me.
how soon can I expect my sleep to be more easy?
You will sleep well before the next new moon.
It's a very big role, emotionally and physically and sheer text-wise. So it's been very intense and required a lot of energy, but it's been a very exciting process. I love the play, I love the character, I love the interactions with the other characters. So it's been a wonderfully passionate, illuminating, effervescent kind of process to work through the play.
How has this happened? How have my prison doors blown open to allow me to breathe the full, free air of heaven? Oh, my dear.
And one thing that's interesting to me about the play is how present it is. Elizabeth gets knocked down for being too manly, too tough, which is, I think, what every strong woman goes through. So I think it's very relevant to this period. I also love all the arguments that are within the play because they're all correct. You can understand what they're saying. It's just which side you're on. So that's been fun, and it's also fun to have two strong gals battling it out, not fist fights or anything, but again, two strong arguments and what's going to happen.
It's great in a classical kind of play as well that the two leads are women and not your typical either ingenue or evil woman,
Correct.
but women with strength and with hearts and with intellect, and that the fights between them and the other characters are intellectual and emotional and fully rounded without them losing their femininity.
To please my servants, I must take a master, and so they show me what they think of me, not as a man and a king, as I have ruled them, so I believed, but simply as a woman. I know God is not best served when humans go against nature, but should a queen, who does not waste her days in contemplation, doing less than nothing, but who tirelessly and uncomplainingly performs the toughest of all duties, should she not be exempted from the natural law that makes one sex the servant to the other?
What Schiller's really interested in is freedom. And he's writing in 1800, and for him, the enormous value of the human soul and the human existence really is freedom. And that freedom is mostly found, in Schiller's mind, in resistance. And resistance to authority, resistance to constraints, resistance to pressures, resistance to political necessities. Most people crumble under this, and most people don't find freedom. They either just accept their circumstances, or they knuckle under, or they're just washed away. In Mary's case, and Mary is a quintessential Schiller heroine in this play, she loses. Of course, she loses her head. She dies. But she dies after finding a real path towards spiritual freedom, a freedom of mind. And so she becomes a genuine, for Schiller, a tragic heroine. Elizabeth, on the other hand, the winner, the victor who emerges safely on her throne, is defeated. And we feel at the end of the play that Mary, who has spent the entire play in prison, is going to someplace free, whereas Elizabeth, living in freedom, is even further incarcerated in the prison of necessity.
Be gracious, sister. You won't leave me lying dishonoured in the dust. Reach down your royal right hand to raise me.